Greetings, this is Bryan Hudson. Welcome to another episode of Health and Wellness in Focus. The purpose of this program and podcast is to inform congregations and our community on topics vital to our individual and collective health and wellness. This is brought to you by New Covenant Church, produced by Vision Communications, and yours truly. My guest today is Bryson Davis. He is the president of Onward and Upward Counseling, based in Brownsburg, Indiana. Mr. Davis is a Fort Wayne native with 24 years experience in the field of mental health. He specializes in providing one-on-one counseling, group counseling, consulting, substance use counseling, gun violence reduction, reentry support, and life coaching. His work emphasizes cognitive behavior therapy, anger management, grief counseling, violence intervention, sexual maladaptive behavior, and prison reentry. Mr. Davis served adolescents, young adults, and couples. The letters following his name are clinical certifications that include eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. He is a credentialed sexual abuse youth clinician and a credential in trauma-focused collective behavioral therapy. Bryson Davis is deeply committed to supporting individuals in the community and promoting strong mental health. He believes cognitive health is essential for meaningful change and sustaining long-term healthy behavior that impacts every area of a person's life. This will be a very timely conversation, especially as we enter the holiday season, which can be challenging for many people. You want to be sure to share this program and podcast with others. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. This will be a very important conversation. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, friends. This is Bryan Hudson. I'm your host for Health and Wellness in Focus. You've already heard the introduction for my guest, Mr. Bryson Davis. Now I want you to meet Mr. Bryson Davis. Welcome, Bryson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for blessing me with the opportunity.
Absolutely. We met in October at an event sponsored by Stop the Violence in Indianapolis and Mr. Anthony Beverly. And Bryson was one of the speakers at that event. And it was a remarkable time of learning, of growing, of seeing how we can make a difference in interrupting cycles of violence among young people. And we learned from Bryson that life coaching and mental health go together in helping to break those cycles for young people and violence, but also helping all of us. All of us need coaching, life coaching, and of course, we need to have good mental health practices. My first question for you, Bryson, is this: is there a connection between mentoring and coaching as it relates to mental health?
Yes, absolutely it is. There's definitely a connection between both of them because both of them are focusing on understanding the individual and how to teach them skills so they can move forward in their life. Mentoring is more when you use your own lived experience, your own experience, maybe good or bad, to really pour into the individual and help them move forward with the things they need help with. And maybe mentoring to help them improve their grades, maybe mentoring to help them to be better fathers, to be better mothers, to be better people in general. Regarding a life coach, if you really think about it, what is a life coach? Someone who coaches your life, who give you the skills that you need to help you have a more productive life and making better decisions to ensure that you have a healthy, normal lifestyle. With regards to life coaching also, it entails the individuals gaining skills, knowledge, and education to help the individual attain the things that they need through hands-on approach, guidance, and necessary things to ensure that their life is moving forward.
That's good. That's a good point, because I can see where I'm a pastor and not a life coach specifically, but anyone working with people is mindful of the things that we do and say and model will help them adopt a certain mindset.
Yes.
And of course, mental health is a spectrum. We know that.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this then. Now, during your presentation, you made a point about something you call practice. That is,
Yes.
things that people can do. You mentioned things like accept what you cannot control, slow down, be mindful of triggers. Can you discuss those items and how people who are watching can help themselves?
Absolutely, because when you undergoing someone that's you practicing life coach, you allowing them to insert into your life, to your intimate moments, to your vulnerabilities, to some of your brokenness. And when you say slow down, a lot of times in life we like running 100 miles per hour. But I realized something in life: we run really fast, but ain't going anywhere. And it's really critical that we slow down and we self-reflect to understand what our next step is going to be and how can we achieve that next step with healthy, smart decision making and choices.
What about this matter of mindful of your triggers? What does that mean?
Yes, I really believe when I undergo therapy or when I'm teaching classes or providing therapy that people don't make us angry. People trigger us, and our trigger drives our emotions. There are 3 stages of trigger. The first stage is the trigger. The next stage is the rise, where you're rising. And then the final stage is the peak. And if we don't manage, and the 4th stage, is the fall. Eventually, the trigger is going to fall off and you return back to normal. However, if we don't understand what our triggers are, and it's going to be hard for us to manage that rise, because sometimes when we get to that peak, we it's too late. We can't come down. So some of the decisions that we make on a rise would affect the peak. And then once we get to that peak, it could be very critical and detrimental to what can happen next due to that decision of not understanding or managing our triggers or the rise.
So let me say this then. So when we have difficulty in these areas of accepting what we cannot control and slowing down and being mindful of triggers, at what point do we have to say, you know what, I need some help. I need help. At what point do we, and what do we do when we realize it's not working for me by myself?
When we continue to have the same outcome with the same decisions. And I could go back to the question you had before, Pastor. Like, I really don't believe people make us angry. They trigger us. And I think a lot of times we don't understand what that trigger is because nobody ever focuses on the trigger. They just focus on the emotion that's associated with that. I work with a lot of individuals like, well, he's an angry person. No, he's not angry. He's triggered because somebody made fun of him because he doesn't have clean shoes on. So that's his trigger. He doesn't like being made fun of. He doesn't like being embarrassed. So that the reaction to that, the emotional reaction is due to that trigger. But when we know that we actually need the help is that when we continue to be in the same place, in the same outcome, making the same decision, that we have to stop and say, hey, maybe what I'm doing is not working. Maybe I need to figure out what I need to do better and go talk to somebody that's an expert in that field to help me understand myself better and how I can make switches and changes in my life to have a more positive outcome.
What is it in our culture, I'll just say Black culture, where we don't want to ask for help, especially guys? We go along, we'll limp through life, and there's help for us. I mean, physically speaking, even mentally speaking.
Yes.
What is it? Is it what stigma do we live with that causes us not to get the help that we need?
I like what you said. It's the same cliche as stigma. Also, I don't believe in generational curses. I believe in generational habits.
Yes.
So a lot of times we will socialize and have habits of when things are going bad for us or things are not healthy for us, we just push through. We just push through. There's no stopping and pausing to say, can I get help? We just push through. And also, I believe that as individuals, we don't like to seem like we're vulnerable. We don't like to seem like we're weak in certain areas. We can't show that vulnerability because those are our survival skills in our communities that we grew up with. We have to show that, hey, we're not sad. We have to display, hey, we're not scared. We have to display that I'm broken. We have to display that, you know what, I'm patting my chest and I got this worked out. And also, I believe, too, it's society stigma on it, too, because when they label you as you need mental health treatment, the society kind of labels you at you have these emotional problems that you can't control instead of looking at what's causing those factors that's driving those problems. I've worked with substance abuse. I'm a substance abuse counselor also. And it's interesting that a lot of times when they go to treatment, people just focusing on them using the substances instead of the underlying reasons why they use the substance.
Yes.
And I like to address the underlying reasons, and you'd be shocked. Trauma, grief, abandonment. So many factors contribute to a person reacting the way they do, but we just like to focus on the behavior that they're displaying instead of the underlying reasons. So I just think we have to just take time as people to talk to that person and understand what they're going through that's contributing to the problems that they're having.
I like what you said, that you made a statement. You said it's not generational curses, it's generational habits. That is so key because we want to spiritualize things because it's easier for us to understand that we think we spiritualize it. But bad habits, let's face it, are the reason behind a lot of what we experience negatively in our lives and positive in our lives.
Yes.
Heard a person say many years ago, he says, don't misread people. He says, there are more broken hearts than hard hearts. Yeah, and so the behavior we see might be a broken heart. It presents as a hard heart.
Yes,
I think what you're saying, and your whole work seems to me, is addressing underlying things that we who don't understand will see something and react to what we see.
Yes.
Well, your job is to go beneath what we see.
Yes.
And help identify what the factors really are. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, sorry to interrupt you, but sometimes by the time we get to the intervention, it could be too late. We have to prioritize the prevention. How can we prevent this happening so we can lower the intervention? Yes, sir. That is critical in what we do in social work, or my approach with Onward Upward. The prevention. Now, the intervention really is important so they can learn skills, so they can be more stronger in these areas where they can make better decisions. However, if we get them before it gets to the point where they're in a crisis, let's address it when they're in pre-crisis. Pre-crisis, how we can address the pre-crisis before the crisis. And that's the difference between the prevention and intervention piece. With a lot of that should be the focus. So key. And to the point you made about your expertise and your work, people like yourself, you'll have your name and there's some letters behind your name, okay? In fact, on the screen now, I'm showing your name and I'm showing the letters CSAYC. Yes.
I'm showing here TF-CBT.
Yes.
And EMDR. So please talk about what those credentials mean.
Okay, I'll start.
Certifications, I should say.
Yes. I'll start with my CSAC, which I work with youth who's active in maladaptive sexual behavior. A lot of those youth are active in inappropriate sexual behavior when in regards to maybe watching inappropriate videos, pornography, inappropriate behavior, perpetrating sexually, even a mindset of acting out inappropriately in a sexual manner. Also, along with that, I have experience working with the victims of maladaptive sexual behavior, how to deal with that trauma, how to deal with that grief, dealing with that, how to deal with them losing their innocence because somebody took it in a sexual, inappropriate manner. My EMDR is I wrote this down too because I wanted to make this right. It's a psychotherapy that helps trauma by processing distressing memories. We address it by bilateral movements by engaging them or tapping. And it's mostly primarily helpful for individuals with high anxiety or experience really high and severe PTSD. Usually individuals that undergo that therapy with myself, I meet with them several times a week due to the high severity of the trauma and the PTSD or anxiety associated with that. It's pretty much kind of a new approach. If you really go back and look at the news, the king of Prince Harry and his wife underwent EMDR approach, and it was really successful for them. My TF-CBT is trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, and it really says what it is. It's focused on primarily on the trauma from a cognitive behavior perspective. And if you understand what cognitive is, it's your mind and the way it works. So addressing your trauma from a cognitive perspective and how can we heal you? How can we address it to heal you to ensure that that trauma is not affecting your everyday life and you can manage in a healthy manner. If you notice, I didn't say get over it. Yes. Because I lost my sister to cancer in 2016. I'm never going to get over that grief. However, I can manage it in a healthy manner. And that's what TF-CBT, that trauma focused cognitive behavior approach, really is focused on managing that trauma and giving you the skills that you need where you can be successful and you can handle it in a healthy manner.
Yeah, so this is vital. And as you're listening to this, again, realize that there are people like Bryson Davis who have received training, even grace from God through training to be able to help people. And so I want you to know that struggling all by yourself is not a solution. You know, it's not going to help because God has sent help. Obviously, you learn how to help yourself at some point, but without that support and expertise coming in and speaking into your situation, it's very difficult to overcome. So I want to thank you on behalf of the public and all of us who appreciate the work that you're doing, and people like you. Thank you so much for being there. We need more of you. In fact, while I'm on that, let me interject this right here. We discussed this before we came on the program here. I have an interest as a pastor. All my guests who come, I get around normally to asking them, first of all, why you chose this field. And secondly, how can we encourage young people to choose these professions? So why did you get into this field?
Well, I got into this field when I first got out of college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to work with children. And I really like helping people because when I was being raised, I had a lot of young men in my church that really helped me, and my brother that took us under their wing and provided a lot of mentoring and a lot of youth groups. So that was always, I knew I was good at something. I knew I couldn't grow anymore because I was only 5'10", so I wasn't going to the NBA. I didn't run a 4.2 40, so I knew I wasn't going to play football. But God did bless me with the ability to look at people in the eyes and see their soul. And I took that and I said, you know what, maybe I could start mental health, the mental health path with that. And so I decided to jump into the mental health field, working at a youth center. Then I worked at several places with Department of Child Services before I went back and decided to go get my master's in psychology. And now I'm a therapist. So I was always intrigued by how to help people move forward. And I always told myself, there's more people that need help than I can give help. And being raised in my community, we used to see the people in our community who needed help, and we would label them. They're retarded. They're crazy.
Feeble-minded.
They're feeble-minded.
Yeah, right.
And I also was doing a lot of research and realized there's not a lot of Black men in this field. When I knew it was an opportunity to get in this profession with my uncle, he gave me the opportunity, and I jumped into it, and it was the best decision I ever made. I feel like God put me here to serve people. That's my purpose, to serve people, and I really enjoy it. My advice to young people is it's a good field to jump in. Is really you get a lot of love out of it because you serving people, you helping people, and there's a lot of people in your community and people around you who can use your services from a mental health perspective. I know a lot of times you look at it like the money's not good. When I first jumped out of it, I was only making like $33,000 a year. I was jumping in my car, driving everywhere. I was going into homes. I was going into communities I didn't want to. I was doing a lot of paperwork, and it was really tough at the beginning. However, once you get your feel about it, and once you understand the expertise of the other side about it, the population you want to work with, it's very favorable, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Well, thank you for choosing that decision.
Yeah.
Let me also say to you, as you're pursuing these careers in mental health and social health and so forth, don't stop at a bachelor's degree. All right, go for the master's or more, because that's required, isn't it? To get
well, it's in the state of Indiana. It's required. You have to have your master's and license to provide licensed therapy.
Yes.
However, that is the basic necessity for you to do this type of work at this level with your master's degree. And what a master's degree really does for you, it helps you become an expert in the population that you want to serve.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, it's important. All right, so let me get back to what you're doing now. So through Onward and Upward Behavioral Health, you also serve adults, you serve teams of individuals. I noticed that you had helped an organization as well. And so what are some of the differences in philosophy and approach when working with adults and then working with young people?
It's interesting you say that because I worked with youth for a long time. That was my first time working out of college. And I noticed working with youth it's so many barriers you have to overcome with youth. You gotta address who's socializing them. You gotta address their peers. You have to practice a lot of patience and grace, because at the end of the day, they're still growing. They're still learning themselves. They're still going to make those mistakes that teenagers and young people do make. So that's more of a challenge with youth. However, the beauty of working with youth is that they're looking for somebody to grab onto. They're looking for somebody to help guide them to that next level, and they're very easily open to listen for change, dealing with youth. And you have the ability to see them grow and see them flourish. And sometimes the parents like to drive the treatment. So that's one of the challenges. But the beauty of all that is that you get them at a spot where you can still help them grow, and you can still help them manage their emotion and manage their problems at the level where they at. Now, adults is a little difficult and great too. The difficulty with adults is that they're set in their habits. Sometimes they're not as vulnerable. Sometimes they could be stubborn. Sometimes they say, you haven't been through what I've been through, so what can you tell me? Sometimes they're stuck in their ways. However, the great thing about adults is that they have the ability to self-reflect and say, hey, I do need to get better in this situation. They have the ability to say, hey, you know what? I have made these mistakes. I can sit up and learn from you. They're more mature at times. They're more open and receptive to treatment, because a lot of children, you refer to the children, but a lot of adults, they referring to you because they say, I want to seek the help. Okay. So that's the great thing about adults, and seeing them shift to making better decisions to help them be better mothers, better fathers, better professionals is really the benefit of adults. I had somebody tell me this, and I'm gonna say this right quick. They said, Mr. Davis, what can you tell me? You never been what I've been through. You never understood what I've been through, and how you gonna come in here and teach me how to be a better man? I said, you know what? I said, that's a good one. He almost stumped me on that one. I said, that's a good one. I said, let me ask you something. I said, if you was diagnosed with a terminal illness and you go to a doctor who's an expert in treating terminal illness, but he doesn't have that illness, are you not gonna listen to him?
That's good.
And he's like, oh, Mr. You got me though. You're right about that. So never feel like that since someone has not experienced what you experienced, that they can't teach you and to help shift your life into a healthier way. Yeah.
One thing we also know, it's hard maybe to convey this to young people, but the thing you're dealing with is already understood.
Yes.
You're not the first person who's been through that.
Yes.
Now you're unique. All of us are unique, but the conditions people deal with have been known for a long time.
Yes.
And we've learned how to handle and help people in different conditions. And that's the value of doing the research, your training, all the study you did and case studies you went through, even though we always personalize everything we do.
Yes.
But there's some things that have been known for a long time.
Yes.
It's hard to convey that to some people.
Yes.
But it's true.
Yes.
It? Yeah.
Yes. Well, and one thing that I try to focus on is the 3 E's: expertise, experience, and education. And one thing about Onward Upward, what makes us unique, is that my motto is reentry to rehab to recovery.
Say it again, please.
Reentry to rehab to recovery.
Yes.
Reentering a new mindset, a new way of thinking, rehabbing the old mindset to be more healthy and stronger. And finally, the last stage is recovery. You recover from the unhealthy choices, the unhealthy relationships, the unhealthy thoughts, the unhealthy habits. Reentry to rehab to recovery. And that's the model that I like focusing on, not only through Onward Upward, but any approach I have with individuals.
That's good. In fact, just hearing you say that gives me hope. And I trust that you hearing that gives you hope that the reentry is going to end in, the last term was?
Recovery.
Because, and that's the opportunity that presents itself with a person like Bryson Davis and Onward and Upward Counseling. Here's an entry point. If you come in this way, there's help for you, and you'll come out the other end victorious.
Yes.
So, Bryce, let me ask you this. How does mental health contribute to providing a healthy lifestyle?
Mental health is everything. mental health is the key cog to us living a healthier lifestyle. Your mind controls so much of your body. I work with individuals in the hospital. I do assessments, and I go into hospitals sometimes, and I work with individuals in hospitals. And the doctor tells me their condition and stuff like that. And they say, Mr. Davis, they're not getting healthy. They're not at this point of their recovery. They should be at this point. So then after I go talk to them, I realize that their hopelessness is keeping them sick.
Mm. Mm.
They don't
Wow.
they don't think they can get better.
Mm.
So their mind is controlling their recovery.
Wow.
And when you tell yourself, I can get better, I can achieve this, I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor, then they have the ability to be able to shift forward. And it's interesting because I followed up with that individual about a week later, and they was doing so much better because they believe that they could get better. They believe they could heal. They believe that they're a survivor of the illness and not a victim of it. And once you stay in that survivor mentality, then so much stuff in your life can get better. You ever realize when you tell yourself you feeling good, you looking good. When you feeling good, you smelling good, you looking good, you feel better about yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
The mental health is paramount to ensure of a healthier lifestyle because we spend so much time lifting weights to get our bodies together. We spend so much time out running to get our cardio together. How many times do we invest in our mental health? I hear all the time, like LeBron James spent $1 million on his body. I just watched the other day, CeeDee Lamb, because I watch football. CeeDee Lamb spent $1 million on his body to stay healthy. But I never hear nobody say they spent this amount of money to get their mental health together.
Mm.
I spent this amount of money to ensure I got emotional stability.
Yes.
I spent this amount of money to ensure I can manage in my grief and manage my trauma. I spent this type of money to ensure that I could be a better father, a better mother, a better steward for God. So mental health is a priority that everyone should invest in to ensure that you got that healthy lifestyle. And I hear a lot about food deserts, which is true, but let's talk about mental health deserts.
Mental health deserts, in my mind.
We don't talk about mental health deserts.
Mm.
But you go to certain communities, this is mental health almost on every corner of that community.
Right.
But think about the mental health deserts that's in communities with people who really suffering from the most trauma, but also disclosing the least.
Yes.
And that is critical for one of my missions is to continue to spread the word or the gospel, not disrespectful word, or the gospel, the importance of mental health treatment and how it can triculate to every aspect of your life to improve relationships, finances, mindfulness, decision-making, healthy habits, and overall health, healthy state of mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we produced a mental health series about 10 years ago. 3 videos sponsored by a group of Pastor Coalition and community leaders. And we interviewed Dr. Virginia Kane, among other people.
Yes.
And she pointed out the fact that in our Black community, people confuse mental illness with mental health.
Yes.
And that mental health is like physical health. This overall, mental illness is the actual condition, the problem. And so people hear mental health, oh, I'm not mentally ill. We're not talking about mental illness. We talk about mental health.
Yes.
Explain that difference if you could, please. So important.
Well, that is really critical because mental health is the overall health of your cognitive behavior, which flows through your whole body. And mental illness may you have a specific diagnosis that's contributing to a problem that you're having. I'm diagnosed with bipolar. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia. And when a lot of people, when they hear that mental illness, that's a stigma that make people run away from the problems that they have. So what I like to label is that I have a mental health diagnosis that's contributing to this. Because when you say, you're right, Pastor, when you say, I got a mental illness, I don't have mental illness. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not crazy, but when you say you have a mental diagnosis, it reminds me of when I work with youth, and I hear this all the time. These are high risk youth. No, they have this is a youth that's involved with high risk behavior.
Yes.
Or another thing, he's a felon. No, he's an individual that committed a crime that resulted in a felony.
Yes. Identity is so important.
And labeling.
Labeling is so key.
Because if we
mislabeling is a key, obviously, yeah.
Critical, absolutely. And so I'm not against anybody saying mental illness, but I like to shift to say a mental diagnosis, because I think when you say that, a person will be easily acceptable of that, realizing that, yeah, you're right, I do have a diagnosis that needs to be addressed instead of that I'm ill.
Yes.
That means that I'm sick.
Right.
Or that means that people's going to look at me like I'm sick. So to me, that is the difference from the two.
So mental health is the goal.
Yes.
You know, be healthy mentally.
Yes.
You know, do things that promote mental health.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Self-care. Do they like that? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And to your point about labels, there is a young man in L.A., Latino brother, who became a scholar. And he worked with youth in his community for years and years. And he flipped the script. He stopped using the phrase "at risk" as it concerns youth, and began using the phrase "at promise." I love that. It stuck with me. I'm saying it again today, you know, that we say he's at risk. Well, I understand what you're trying to say, but really he's at promise.
Yes.
She's at promise.
Yes.
And that mindset, how we approach people, young people, all people, how we think of them, persons first, potential first, and then we see the problem. But to base everything and then give the people an entire label, they're all at risk, you know. I was sharing Sunday, we had a prison ministry reentry event on Saturday. We talked about reentry and priorities for returning citizens. We don't say ex-cons, returning citizens. And so we talked about how statistics have their place. Data is important. But I remember years ago, someone came up with the stat that one out of every 4 men were in some kind of trouble. Now, 4 black men were in some kind of trouble. So I counted the room. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many? Who's in trouble? So stats do not tell you about the person you're talking to. Data is important. I know it is. But statistics and labels and things, we can quickly overlook the people we should be looking at.
Yes, absolutely.
And understanding. So talk about the importance of really understanding people where they are, as they are, and then bringing in the data to support what you understood about conditions.
Yes, I definitely agree with you that the data is important, because the data lets you know what problems that are happening, what specific areas, and what money needs to be allocated to resolve that problem. However, a lot of us, especially in this society, don't take the time to really know who that person is. And it goes back to labeling. So many times I saw teachers in IEP meetings. I'm gonna give you an example.
IEP stands for
Intervention Educational Plan. For children that really have a high risk behavior, like really risky behavior in school. And I never forget, this principal came out and said, "These kids are the worst of the worst."
Came out and said that these kids.
It was the principal.
Are the worst of the worst.
Are the worst of the worst. And I met him. I ain't gonna tell the school, but I met him, and I sat down and talked to him, and they were brilliant. They just had habits of getting up, walking out of class, getting up, talking back to the teacher. They just didn't understand certain etiquettes and behavior that was necessary to be successful in school. So I focus on their habits while also praising them. Loving them tough, not tough love.
I like that.
What's tough love, you say? Oh, okay. That means that you start with abrasiveness. You start with talking about what they did. You start with abusive language, aggressive language, but then you shift to the love, like, you know, I did this because I love you, right? But by the time they navigate, time they navigate through the toughness,
oh my God!
And by the time the love comes, they looking at you like, "Do you really love me?" But when you love them tough, you start with understanding, praise, grace, favor, talking to them. Hey, you know, I know you're working hard, however, and the toughness is accountability. When I was growing up, when my mother would be like, "I'm mad at you," I'd be like, "My mother's mad. She'd get over it, right?" But when somebody say, "I'm disappointed in you," you come short of my expectations. I expect more of you. That's the accountability piece. So I think a lot of times in life, we have to focus on loving them tough instead of the tough love. And everybody wants to be held accountable to some degree. And when I start switching that and I start teaching that about love and tough, the behavior of these children just shifted. They was coming to class on time. The behavior has decreased. Their grades was good. So by the time they graduated from my program, the principal came and told me he made a mistake. He said, "I'm sorry."
Good.
You know, and I told him, and I told this principal, I said, "I'm sorry is okay, because you can hide behind the phrase 'I'm sorry.' You can't hide behind 'I apologize,' because apologizing requires action."
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. You can hide behind saying 'I'm sorry,' because you can say 'I'm sorry for this," but then go back. But you can't hide behind I apologize. And I told him this, and he said, "You're right. I do apologize, and I would change my way of thinking going forward with these young men."
That's success.
Yeah.
That's a spectrum of success.
Yes.
Not only that you help the children, but the people who are, assigned to help them,
Yes.
are they helping them better
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
this is good. This is so good. Well, I'm speaking with Bryson Davis, and he is the president of Onward and Upward Counseling. That's a great name, brother.
Appreciate that.
Onward and Upward.
Yes.
That's the direction we're going. Bryson, how can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
Well, my email is bdavis@onwardandupwardcounseling@yahoo.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Bryson Davis. I'm also on Instagram at Onward and Upward Counseling. I was resisting, but I'm going to start a TikTok page, so I'm going to jump on TikTok. So it's all coming, and I'm also available at all them forms of social media. And if you inbox me or you email me, immediately I will respond within 24 hours, so I can figure out what your needs are, how I can serve you. We're in the business of servitude. This is not a job for me. This is a mission. So I would definitely get back with you and do my best to provide services to help shift you and move forward in life.
All right. And my final question, and this is what I learned when I was a journalism minor, undergraduate degree.
Okay.
The final question we ask always is this: is there anything else you want to share with our viewers and listeners?
Yes, it's two things I want to share, and I appreciate again your opportunity that you allowed me to do this. I really do. It's a blessing. The first thing I want to share is that let's not hide our brokenness. I was talking to this young man today before we got on camera, and I said a lot of people, we like to hide our brokenness. We like to say, "Where our brokenness at? I can't find my brokenness." And if we're not careful, if we hide our brokenness, we'll lose it, and and then we'll find it and show up in ways where it's not supposed to be showed up in our relationships, our finances, our marriage, our parenting, our health, our peers. So let's not be afraid to address our brokenness and to heal. I'm still dealing with the death of my sister. I'm still dealing with a lot of loss of a lot of my family and loved ones. So I still have brokenness in other areas. However, I understand the purpose of mental health and understand the skills that's necessary for me to get better. And so I expose my brokenness. I don't mind sharing that I'm vulnerable or self-disclosing that I'm vulnerable. So don't hide your brokenness. Be brave. Step up and say, "I need help." It's really important as individuals that we be specific with the problems that we have. I work with a lot of individuals and they say, "Well, Mr. Davis, I'm going through this, I'm going through that." I always respond like, I don't understand what that means, because we have to be specific with the problem so we can be specific with the solution. Because if we're not, what does that lead to? Misdiagnosis, mismedication, and mistreatment. And we get upset because we went to an organization or people or place and we expecting them to give us the help that we need. However, we wasn't specific with what we needed. So it's really important that you be specific with what you need, the problems that you're going through, how are you responding, how the medication is making you feel, so we can ensure that you're getting the high quality help that you deserve. And the second thing I remember, quick story, I was working with this young man, and I never forget, he was getting close to graduation, and I never forget, at that time, my director was like, "I don't think he's ready to graduate. He hasn't showed up to your last two cognitive behavior groups." And I was like, "I think he's ready to graduate." And they said, "Why do you think he's ready to graduate?" I said, "One, he's not involved with gun violence. He's active with mental health treatment. He wants a better relationship with his parents. He's not stealing cars. He's doing the things is necessary for him to do to be healthy moving forward in his life." And finally, I said, "I'd rather this young man limp to the finish line than rush to his destruction." We have to get up, then we limp, and then we walk. Eventually, we're going to run. So don't be afraid if you're limping and you're going at a slower pace what people think. You got to go on a pace what's best for you. And sometimes, and finally, my last message, sometimes we got to get beat up sometimes. People say, Mr. Davis, what you mean by getting beat up? You don't want to get beat down. So when people beat you down, you're getting beat, but you're staying down. But sometimes when we get beat, it brings us up, right? So sometimes there's nothing wrong with getting beat up. Sometimes we go through hard times. Sometimes we go through different jobs. Sometimes people tell us we can't be who we want to be. Sometimes we go through a lot of grief and trauma. So we getting beat through the process. But guess what? It's bringing us up to be better people and healthier people. So with that being said, I appreciate everyone out there that's listening. Get the help that you need. Be brave, be bold, and saying what you need. And we're all going to get through this together.
Thank you. I've been speaking with Bryson Davis, the president of Onward and Upward Counseling. I want to share with you a story from a live presentation that Bryson gave, talking about the dented cans. And I want you to realize the value of people. That's what I believe the message in the story was about. And so I want to just thank you again, Bryson, for being on today on Health and Wellness in Focus.
Thank you.
And this program is on YouTube. The podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So please subscribe for this and future episodes. Share it with others. I like the idea that what we do here becomes a resource. And you'll find in the show notes, you'll find links to Bryson's organization, other links to other help you might need. So again, thank you for being with us here. And this is sponsored by New Covenant Church, Vision Communications, and myself. So again, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time. And enjoy this story by Bryson Davis. God bless.
This is a story that relates to our young man. I'm almost done. This young man worked in the store. He was a store man. He worked in the store for a couple of years, and he went to his manager. He said, I think I'm ready to work with people. His manager said, I don't think you're ready to work with people. This is relatable to our young men, our women, our program, men in our program. He said, I don't think you're ready to work with people. He said, yeah, I think I'm ready to work with people. He said, why do you think you're ready? I said, because I have the empathy, I have the heart, I know how to lead people. Because guess what? Everybody's leaders, but everybody ain't a leader of men. Everybody can't lead men or women. And the store said, manager said, I don't think that you're ready. He said, I think I'm ready. He said, okay, I'll watch you. I'll make sure I'll give you a recommendation, whatever I need to do. But first I need you to put these cans up in the shelf. He's like, all right, I'll do that. So we got on this machine, forklift, managing the forklift, put the forklifts up, the pallet fell over, bam. All the cans on the ground. Some cans was bent, some cans labels was scratched off, some labels were scratched off on the can. The manager came down, so he hurried up, he looked at his manager, hurried up, picked up all the cans. He was gonna throw them away. The manager stopped it. Whoa, wait, stop. What you doing with that? I'm throwing the cans away. No. We're gonna put them in that cart over there and slap a half price off for them. He said, what? Slap high price off on them? Who wanna buy these bent up cans? Nobody wanna buy these cans. Besides, I don't got time, I got a date in an hour. No, I need you to do this before you leave. Oh, okay, I'll make sure I do it. So he was picking up, he said, I want you to take these cans and place them neatly and correctly in the basket and handle them with care. Right? He said, I'll make sure I do that, boss. Next thing you know, he picked up 1 can, 2 cans, 3 cans. He started to get frustrated. He said, you stupid cans. He cursed the cans. He kicked the cans. He said, if one for you, I'll be on my date. I got to push my date back. Stupid cans start throwing, so he dropped a couple in, start throwing them in, right? Slapped the half price off sale sign on him. I hope nobody buy you guys. Went home, but he couldn't sleep at night. Something was rattling his heart and soul and the spirit. He said, why does this man want me to sell these cans half off? Nobody want these. So he ran down to the store the next day, right? To his astonishment, all the cans was gone. He couldn't believe it. His manager walked in whistling. Hey, how's your morning? I'm doing good, sir. I got a question. Yeah, what happened to all the cans? Oh, they sold out. What do you mean they sold out? Who would want these bent cans? Nobody want these. The label scratched off. Nobody even know what's in half these cans. He said, you never understood. He said, it's not what the cans look like. It's what's on the inside of the can. So if you're willing to treat these cans like this, think about it. You drop them. People gonna drop us in life, right? I said I asked you to pick the cans up and treat them with care. You cursed them. You kicked them around. You threw them in the cart. You didn't even place them in the shelter where they could feel comfortable and safe. You threw them in the cart. And then you got mad at them. Then you thought they wasn't valuable. So if you're doing this to some cans, how you gonna treat people? Think about that. How many of our men are bent cans? How many of us are bent cans? Because I know I'm one. How many of us treat them like they're bent cans?